can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Welcome everybody to the Wakanda Forever, Black Panther Wakanda Forever review. This is a no spoiler review. We are not talking spoilers here. As far as I'm concerned, spoiler discussion is going to be for the Blerd Cave. So we'll talk about spoilers this Saturday. So y'all know the vibes. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, Saturday. Y'all know where to be. So let's go ahead and get to it. So Wakanda Forever. This movie has... God, man, 2018 was when the first Black Panther came out. When they said something about 6 some odd years having passed, I was like, damn, that's actually about right on point.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Wakanda Forever is the second Black Panther movie. This is a film that has been in all kinds of levels of just delays, setbacks, COVID, and of course, we had the untimely passing Chadwick Boseman, which also set things back tremendously. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened, but this movie is pretty much picking up in the MCU, and not as if nothing has happened. A lot of stuff has happened. The trailers pretty much let you know that T'Challa in this movie is dead. I'm going to go in, the closest thing I think we'll probably say that'll be a spoiler is that this happens pretty much at the beginning of the movie. And there you go. And I don't think that's actually a surprise to anybody that would be going into this if you know he's going to be dead from the trailers. We've got pretty much everyone, your principal actors from the first movie. You've got your Lupita Nyong'o, who plays Nakia. You've got Angela Bassett returning as Queen Ramonda. You've also got Florence Kasumba coming back as Ayo. We have Denai Guerrero coming back as Okoye.
I just remember something M'Baku said.
Oh, no, I already know. I already know what you was about to say. But no, we got Winston Duke coming back as M'Baku. And of course, we have Letitia Wright, who is returning as Shuri. Carter, I don't even know where to begin because it's hard to talk about. This movie is over 2.5 hours. It's over 2.5 hours. I think it's actually like 161 minutes total. Yep. 2 hours and 41 minutes, I believe. It is difficult to talk about this movie without saying something that's going to just give the game away.
Because I was thinking about this the entire time I was watching it. This movie, in my opinion, did what only one other Marvel film did. That movie being Captain America. This movie, this was a sequel that was, in my opinion, really fucking good. There have not been many sequels when it comes to the Marvel movies that I think would hold a candle to the original. Like I said, the only movie that did that, in my opinion, was Captain America, because I thought the first Captain America movie was a snooze fest. And then you go to the Winter Soldier, and it was fire all the way through. That's the only Marvel sequel that has done that for me up until this movie. Ryan Coogler had an impossible task, and
did you feel like he rose to the occasion?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That
certainly,
brother. That with not even the controversy with just the movie, just the controversy with him as well. With the police getting caught on him at the bank, and all that nonsense. But
God, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, somehow this brother pulled it off.
Oh yeah,
he pulled it off. Like, I'm actually surprised that he pulled it off. This was, in my opinion, probably one of the better movies in this phase so far. This trumps Multiverse of Madness, even though I enjoy that movie, contrary to what several of you all think.
It's because you interchange midness with trash. In the same breath that I have often heard you say that mid doesn't mean bad, I've also heard you use mid to call something trash.
The only reason being because when someone said Multiverse of Madness, I thought that was a very smart joke, and it makes me chuckle every time. So that's the only reason that I say that. But I think this film is better than the Doctor Strange sequel. This shit is miles better than Love and Thunder. This right now is the sequel to beat in the MCU, and I think looking at this film, other movies down the line are really going to have to step their game up. Because again, this brother had all eyes on him.
And I would say all odds. I would say all odds against him too.
And you are absolutely right. And man, like any other person, I think would have buckled. Hell, I think I would have fucking buckled under all of that immense pressure. And somehow he, like I said, he did it. He made a damn good sequel to Black Panther.
I will definitely say, not only did he have that Herculean task, he also had another Herculean task, and you have to address the fact that he was bringing something to the MCU that had never been done before. And what I'm talking about here is a character, which what we're talking about here is Namor. Namor is a character that honestly, I feel like on paper, probably should not have worked, but worked. And I think a lot of that I actually read something somewhere. Apparently Ryan Coogler did not know how to swim until this movie. And what makes it even more funny is that Tenoch Huerta, the guy who plays Namor in this movie, also has pretty much implied he didn't know how to swim either. So like you got two don't know how to swim trying to make a movie about a guy whose whole gimmick is swimming. And I gotta admit, I think that because a lot of times it's just one of those things where people are always going to compare Marvel, DC. Doesn't matter what the context is. And I remember going to go see that first Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa. I remember one of the first things I said, and I heard other people say too, is when you see Atlantis for the first time in that movie, first thing people said was, oh, this kind of reminds me of Wakanda, but underwater. And that was what I was kind of worried about was going to happen with this movie. And without spoiling anything, when you see Namor's underwater kingdom, I was worried people were going to be like, oh, this is copying Aquaman. Didn't hear any of that in the theater. Like, people were like mystified. And like, you remember the same vibe that you got when you see the first Black Panther movie and they show you Wakanda? Like, because you got to think about up to that point, we never saw Wakanda in the MCU. Even when we saw Wakanda floaty fingers in Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
You didn't actually see Wakanda. Everything was all misty. You couldn't see anything except that statue.
Mm-hmm.
So when we first saw that movie and you see the Golden City, it's like, oh, damn. Like, it's like, oh, man, this is crazy. But that's the same vibe that I got with how they did Talokan in this movie. But overall, like, I will definitely say as far as like high points go for this movie, and just for those that are curious about how well Tenoch Huerta plays Prince Namor, he plays him fantastically, I think.
That boy's one mean mother.
I didn't really expect to, like, I knew it would be cool seeing Kotal Khan in live action. But he did his thing. He really did his thing. I wasn't bored, or I wasn't waiting for another scene or everything like that.
He was just like Namor. Like, it was almost if you took Namor straight off the comic and just held the camera in front, like held the comic in front of the camera. That's as close as you could have possibly gotten, I think, to having a comics accurate Namor on screen.
I will say this version of Kotal Khan was a lot more compassionate, almost, and a lot more caring, I would say, than the comic counterpart, which for this movie actually worked really, really well. I don't know how many different ways I can say I really enjoyed this movie, because I like anytime you come with a sequel, you always want to make it a step above the original. And being someone who said several times on the Blerd Cave, especially when I saw the movie was just going to be about Wakanda and not Black Panther and stuff like that, nobody's going to watch this movie.
Oh, but how wrong were you?
You know what I'm saying? And I was one of those people that said no one would want to watch that movie, just a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. But
well, yeah, if you take it like on its nose, on its nose, just like at face value, it probably does sound like a very boring thing. But the thing is, you also got to look at it. That's just something that people say. It's kind of like the same way that, like, I remember when Elizabeth Olsen kept talking about how scary Multiverse of Madness was. And really, how scary was it, Carter?
It wasn't.
There you go. See, and not to say that Wakanda Forever is not a tribute to Chadwick Boseman and like a tribute to Wakanda itself. It is, but like I think you kind of have to take what they say a lot of the times and just kind of read between the lines on it.
Yeah. So
because this is a Marvel movie, people are gonna go see it. I don't care.
Yeah. Just to speak about Chadwick really quick. I don't think this is a spoiler, but the title, the Marvel Studios title card.
Oh, yeah, I will. Man, I'm not gonna lie. That one hit me. That one kind of hit me.
There was not a dry. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 9 people in my section, and it was 2. I was in between a woman and a couple, and they were both just. It wasn't a dry eye in the house, just at that, and that's the beginning of the movie.
Well, yeah, it's the same. Like it reminds, like in once again, because they've only ever really done this once before, and with Stan Lee, and it was that same level of respect that they were putting on Chadwick's name. So I thought it. I mean, to be fair though, there are a lot of moments in this movie that are just like that hit. I want to talk about one of my other high points here. It's interesting because I actually just recently did a podcast. I was a guest on Comic Book Kaiju, talking about the character of Ironheart, which is appropriate because Ironheart is in this movie. This isn't a spoiler. And one of the things I actually said, and this, I guess spoiler for the podcast, not the movie, but I remember being asked on that podcast why I felt, people gravitated towards Miles Morales, but not Riri Williams. And while I won't tell you the full diatribe of my answer, I will say that one of the things I say towards the end of that, of my TED Talk on that is that I felt after this movie, people will start to care. And I do actually stand by that statement. I can actually say I stand by that statement. Though I will definitely say this version of Riri, whereas Namor was very comics accurate, they actually changed some things with Riri that I wasn't sure how I felt about till I got to the end of the movie. But once I did, I was like, you know what? I like this because they found a way to portray the character without making her all about grief, if that makes any sense. If for those unfamiliar with the character, she has a lot of grief that surrounds her character. And they found a way to have her in the movie, kind of the same way they did with Spider-Man. Like, if you wanted to compare how they introduced Ironheart in this movie, imagine if you went to go see a movie like Captain America Civil War, and instead of just Spider-Man being a small part of the movie, but maybe just like if you bumped up Spider-Man's role in that movie to about maybe an extra 5, maybe 8 to 10 minutes. That's basically what they did here with this. They kind of followed the same formula where they kind of hint at the things that are going on with Riri, but they don't go deep into it because they're saving it for her show.
I can say this about Riri. She did not get on my nerves like I thought she would. So it was actually a really good job, but
Dominic Thorne, she knocked it out of the park. I felt.
Just when I thought she was, because she was slowly getting there, and just when I thought she was gonna get to that point of being aggravating, and fucking annoying, it did something else, or it got brought down. I will say this as an introduction to her, and I can see a lot of people not liking Riri Williams once this show drops. Just because she is not your... Okay, I'll say this. She has an no, because she has an attitude.
Yeah.
But when I
say
a teenager. She's a teenager. But when I say she has an attitude, I don't mean like she's rude or condescending or anything like that. It's just...
You're talking about in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers sense of the word. She's a teenager with attitude.
Okay, cool. I don't know how you pulled that out your ass, but I could see a lot of people I can see a lot of people whining and tweeting their heart out because of how she is in this movie, and I'm fairly certain how she's going to be on this show that's coming out. Everybody in my theater, including myself, We fucking with Riri.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. Riri is not for everybody. And that's kind of, I think, the purpose of this and why she was introduced here. Because here's the thing. Okay, so case in point.
Mhm.
Do you remember how you felt about Shuri in the first Black Panther movie?
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of people, like everything you're saying right now about Riri.
Riri, yeah.
I heard people say the same thing about Shuri in the first Black Panther movie. There was a lot of people who said the same thing you said. They were like, they either didn't like her or they did like her, but they felt that if she would have hung around just a little bit longer, she would have been annoying. There are a lot of people who felt that way. And and that's just par for the course, because honestly, let's just be real. And I know you will try and vehemently disagree with me on this, but a lot of times you can have two different characters, a male character and a female character, and you can have them both act the exact same way. And I guarantee you, most people, and by most people, I mean men, they will be perfectly okay with the male character acting that way, but not okay with the female character acting that way. We see it all the time in the MCU. We see it all the time in just movies in general. It just is what it is. I've accepted it, and people are just slaw that way. So it just is what it is. But I feel like... Go ahead.
No, please go. No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I just feel like people will... Kind of like with She-Hulk. I feel like you either are going to get over it.
Yes.
Or you ain't. And that's just on you. Like,
I
you
think
can
that's,
either...
That's going to be Riri.
Yeah.
That's going to be Riri.
Yeah.
Like hard body. But since you did bring up Shuri, how did you feel about Shuri in this movie?
I felt she did a fantastic job. I felt she did fantastic. Like, because I mean, here's the thing. When we got introduced to Shuri in Black Panther in 2018, she was just fun. She was a fun character. I mean, yeah, there were a couple of moments where she had to be serious, but like, for the most part, she was the fun character. She was the one that you looked to and you wanted some lightheartedness. But this movie, well, yeah, she is still bringing some of that. We're dealing with a character who's dealing with the loss of her brother. And you can tell the loss of her father is still fresh in her head too. And so she's having to play a juggling act. And I felt like she did a really good job of kind of like, cause, and I don't want to say too much because this kind of gets into spoiler territory about how she's, coping. But I have both been in a similar scenario as Shuri, and I have been around people who have been in a similar scenario as Shuri when it comes to dealing with grief and loss, and it felt very real to me. That's all I will say.
I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible when it pertains to Shuri.
Go ahead.
But here's what a lot of you have to do when it pertains to Shuri in this film. When it comes to Letitia Wright, how she feels about vaccinations ain't got nothing to do with you.
No.
How she feels about however she may feel about things ain't got nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with people that she's sharing a set with, a scene with, but nothing to do with any of you that are watching or listening to this, period. You are never going to see this woman anywhere. Trust me, you all don't stay in the same circles. The reason I say that is because you have to get that out of your head.
You have to be able to separate the art from the artist, is basically.
Not even that. You just have to stop taking shit so personal from someone that ain't got nothing to do with you. And I say all of that because she did her thing in this.
Yeah, no, she's a professional.
You really need to take all that other excess shit that you don't like when it pertains to how she feels about something. Think about that girl you said you really enjoyed watching in Black Mirror. Take that girl you said you really enjoyed watching in the first film, in Infinity War. That's the only thing you need to keep in your head. And then I think you will appreciate how she was in this, because the girl, like I said, the girl killed it. She was doing her thing. There may have been a scene or two I was just like, but even with that in there, I still think that Letitia Wright did a hell of a job in this.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. I don't, and without going too far deep into it, I think it's Nate Moore, who's one of the producers for the MCU and all the Marvel Studio stuff. He actually recently came out and said that a lot of the stuff that people have been saying about Letitia Wright over the last couple of years, he says he's actually very confused by it because he said she's never actually expressed anything of the sort. I think what a lot of people focus on is that video that she posted and a couple of tweets and things that she's liked but never actually said anything about. But it's one of those things, honestly, I don't care. I was there to see her perform. She exceeded expectations. Honestly, I think she's a standout. Honestly, outside of Tenoch Huerta and Tisha Wright, the only other actor I thought was doing the most when it came to acting was Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett was acting her ass out.
Boy, I was finna cuss you out if you didn't put some respect on that one.
Oh no. Angela Bassett was acting her ass off. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you.
I thought you was gonna say Kotal Khan, Shuri, and Riri. I was finna cut this whole damn Discord call off.
No. Angela Bassett was acting her ass off. Honestly, I know a lot of. I don't think she's gonna get an Oscar for her performance in this. I know that's the thing everyone always tries to bring up when people do an amazing performance in a movie. It's like, this is light work for her. This was just Tuesday. For Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett wakes up in the morning and just gives an Oscar award-winning performance. So that wasn't ever in question. I will also say, too, one of the biggest criticisms I think I had about Black Panther, probably one of the only criticisms I really had about Black Panther, the first movie, was the CG fight at the end. And I was very happy we didn't get a repeat of that. I think Marvel actually paid attention to the criticisms people gave. The CG in this movie is actually, for the most part, pretty airtight. In this film, which is something a lot of people have been trying to criticize Marvel for over the last, really since Endgame. Since Endgame, a lot of people have been trying to criticize Marvel for having bad CG, which technically they don't. There are some instances where you see some outlier stuff. When people talk about bad CG, I don't think people realize that the way we see stuff nowadays is so HD. Sometimes things just look weird because it kind of has to.
There was one scene where I could say that, that CG was kind of nasty, but it wasn't an action scene or anything like that. It was just, it was a scene where you could clearly see it was green screen.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, so I'm going to correct you on that, Carter. They don't use green screen anymore. They do not use green screen anymore. That is a thing of the past. It's a new visual effects technique. It's basically a wraparound LED screen. So basically, it's the same shit they use for The Mandalorian. They've been using it on The Mandalorian since season 1. So that way they can literally be anywhere at any time without having to change much in the way of the set, and it uses like Unreal Engine or something like that. Like I implore you to look it up. So what you saw wasn't actually green screen. It just it was the LED probably just stood out to you because that's just what it is. But yeah, if you ever go back and watch The Mandalorian, you see like times they're like out in the desert and shit. They ain't out in the desert. That's an LED screen.
Okay.
So yeah. So
but again, I think there was only that one scene. It was toward the end of the movie where I was just like, that looks kind of that's clear. That's kind of nasty. But that was literally, that's a nitpick, if anything, because it was just that one part that stuck out to me.
I will also say, and this isn't anything like as far as like stuff I felt that they improved upon. There's actually, if there's any one negative, I'll actually say one bad thing is because I don't want people to think I'm just gushing about the movie and I didn't have any problems with it. I actually did have a problem with the movie.
Okay.
One problem. One.
Okay.
Just the one. I'm trying to see. Okay, here's how we'll do it. There is a character who is in this movie. Actually, there's two characters who are in this movie who are not central to the overall plot of the movie. And they get a lot more screen time than I feel they should have. And I'm pretty sure you probably know exactly which two characters I'm talking about. It's not anyone from Wakanda. It's not Ironheart. It's not anyone from Talokan. That's all I'm going to say. There are two characters who are honestly not important to any of this, who get way more screen time than they should. I feel like it kind of slowed. Like, I feel like you could have shaved their stuff off and no one would have cared. No one would have noticed.
Yeah. One of them could. One of them can't dance. That's all we'll say.
And I will say this: I would not have been so harsh on it if I felt it was setting up something, which technically it was, but not anything I felt like this movie needed to stop to take time to set up. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean?
You're saying it was somewhat there to set up something. I thought it was for a split second.
I mean, it was, but it's not the thing I think everyone was there to see. if that makes
Okay.
any sense. Just know that this movie is, and I will say it, I don't really believe in perfection. I don't believe there's any such thing as being perfect. This movie is about as close to being perfect. Like, this might slick be my new Winter Soldier. This is my Black Panther Wakandan soldier. There you go. That's what that's this.
I'm not gonna go that route. I ain't gonna say that now. Now you might be. How
I
much
liked
did
it.
You drink, how much did you drink at the movie theater?
I actually didn't drink shit because I didn't want to have to go to the bathroom.
See, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at drinking and holding my fluids until the end of the movie. I'm getting better at it.
Not for over 2.5 hours. No.
Oh no, I was mad. I didn't have another drink. I just bought the one margarita. But I will say that man had a Herculean task and he pulled it off with grace. And because I don't ever like calling anything perfect, but that man, again, he did what you're supposed to do with sequels. They're supposed to be a step above the original. And that's what he did here. And not a lot of Marvel movies can say that they have done that.
No.
Period. So, yeah, this was, see, and one thing I told one person, and he cursed me out until I told him I had to get in my Lyft to go home. I said, I think I might like this one a little bit more than the first one.
I'll say that.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll say that.
But
I will say that.
Again, with sequels, in my opinion, you're supposed to like the sequel more than the original. And then you're supposed to like the third. You're supposed to, they're supposed to get better with each thing. That's how I think those films are supposed to work. That's how they entice you. That's how they entice you to go see more of it. So
I definitely, I agree. It is. I think this one is better than the first one.
This is the movie to beat right now in this phase, which is fun. Like I hope. Let's see what this Ant-Man movie is going to do, because that was the trailer that it showed literally right before Black Panther started.
Yeah, Quantumania.
Yeah, so who knows? But yeah, in my opinion, I think this is the movie to beat right now.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. And while I have definitely enjoyed far more of the more recent crop of movies than most people probably are willing to admit, I definitely like this one a lot. And while we don't necessarily do grades or ratings or
I don't even want to do it.
We don't do that here.
I don't.
I'm gonna leave.
I'm not giving a rating. I'm just saying we don't. I just say I give this. I would give this movie a very strong recommendation. That's it. It gets a recommendation from Blerd Without Fear.